Hello and welcome everyone to this webinar titled Implementing a Successful AI Strategy. What does success look like? My name is Ivan Trehin and I am on the marketing team here at H2O.ai. Today we are hosting this webinar in partnership with Data Plus Business, our partner covering the region of the Gulf countries. I would love to start off by introducing our speakers today. Saad Alhuzami is Research and Development Senior Manager at Thiqah, and Mark Bakker is Regional Lead at H2O.ai. And both have been working in the AI transformation space over the past decades, and they are excited to share their experience with you today. Before I hand it over to Saad and Mark, I would like to go over the following housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box and we will take some time at the end of the session to answer them. And this session today is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be available after the presentation is over. Now I would like to hand it over to Mark.
Thank you so much, Ivan. Okay, hi everybody. So the topics we're going to talk about today is all about where to start, the challenges you can face when implementing AI, and the learnings from that. So I will cover the challenges and where to start, and I'll start with the introduction. And Saad has a lot of experience in implementing AI within customers, and he has quite some learnings around that. So let us move right now to a small introduction to AI and what the possibilities are of AI. So actually AI isn't that new anymore, and many organizations already started with the implementation of AI in an experimentation phase, maybe in a real a business situation. And what you really can see is that some organizations succeeded, some of the organizations didn't succeed yet. So for example, Netflix, it's a great example of a very AI-driven organization, started the AI challenge. And it's not only actually the personalization of movie recommendations that they offer from an AI perspective. So maybe everybody knows the recommendation with the percentage, this is a movie you would really like. That is, of course, AI in the background. But also the generation of the AI, of the thumbnails you can see in your screen of the different movies and series. That's also backed up by AI because it's really a focus on personalization. Netflix, they're using AI also for the location scouting, for the movie development or production and the series production, because they really want to know, based on historic perspective, where the best location is to get to develop such a movie, what the budget is for such a location, scheduling, etc., etc. They're using it in the editing perspective, which is also a great example. And we can see it also, especially during these COVID times. Netflix used AI to develop more bandwidth for the overload of people watching Netflix, because of everybody had to sit at home, because they used streaming quality AI to really understand that. If you really look into AI is all about getting better decisions, smarter decisions, faster. So if you really look into different industries like retail, like healthcare, insurance companies, it's all about current business process and developing a better decision, smarter using AI, but also faster. So some examples: in retail with mass branding, you can develop a very personalized and individualized experience real time. Or healthcare, for example, where we are using during these COVID times also AI for mass treatment. We're trying to personalize or to make it bigger right now, also to help people as good as possible. So AI is all about developing smarter decisions, but also faster. So like I already mentioned, quite some organizations already started with the implementation of AI. These implementations, yeah, those organizations are facing quite some challenges. So those challenges is most of the time based on where to find the AI use cases and how to implement those use cases, how to implement AI into these use cases with the right people. You need data scientists. You need also some revenue from your business results at the end. So there you need the time to market, and most important as well is a business user or somebody needs to be able to use or understand the results of such a AI process. So if you've developed a smarter decision, if you can get it fast at the business user. You always have to think about talent. So who's going to develop it, who is going to organize it, who is going to use it. You need the time. So you need the time to market needs to be as short as possible because that's important, but also you need people to trust the AI within the organization. It is a struggle for many organizations to adapt AI in an always changing enterprise, because actually organizations want to keep the business quo, status quo, and AI, it makes things different. So many organizations face quite some challenges regarding the implementation. So a small introduction to AI. What does it mean to start with AI? Because it's actually a quite fast changing field and you need different personas within the development of AI. It all starts at the top. So it starts with the definition of the actual problem of AI. So it's really important to understand what the problem is. For example, maybe you want to develop a better fraud prediction model. So what is the problem statement? We're going to predict fraud. But it's also really important within this definition question, what is success? So success could be 1% better prediction of fraud equals X amount of money. So it's really important to also think about the business value you can gain from the development of AI. Next step, it all starts with data, of course. So definition, data. So you need the data before, and you need historic data before you can move further. It's not always that you need more data. With a small amount of data, it's also possible to develop a good AI product, but you need historic data to develop a pattern as a next step, which you can use in your AI stream. So you need people who can prepare data, who understand the data. You need subject matter experts who understand what is fraud, who is going, what the possibilities are with fraud, what is strange in the data, and what you can need before you can move further. Because actually you're trying to develop a pattern based on a real situation and that need to reflect in your data. Next step, model building. Model building is all about the data science work of trying out different models, getting the best patterns based on historic data, based on test data, based on real data. So actually you're trying to constantly understand the pattern you get from the model and you try to apply it on test data and on real data. This is all about model building, and model building is actually also all about trying to understand which features you can engineer. A feature could be time, a feature could be a customer with a certain characteristics which could influence the model. So feature engineering, big part of the development of a model. The algorithm selection, so that's really a big thing. Hyperparameter optimization, that's all about the data scientist developing this model. Model finalization, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. So that's all about making the model ready to use it. And making it ready means actually if you're going to implement a fraud detection algorithm, you need to understand if it's going to work. There's going to flow in new data constantly. So you really need to be sure that if you are going to implement a fraud detection model in a real situation, then you need to be really sure that if there is new data flowing in, that the end model is still reflecting the data. So it needs to be good. So it needs to be validated. You need documentation within the enterprise, because if you have documentation, you can make sure that you can replicate the end model. And replication is really important because actually it's a research situation. You need to test it. You need to actually deploy it. So how are you going to use the fraud prediction model within which situation, in which applications? And in the end, you are moving into model execution, so a real production situation where you're going to monitor the fraud prediction model, if it's still ready, is it still good, is it drifting based on the newest data, and if it's not working, you need to be able to replace it or maybe to retire the end models. So if you talk about data science, you need to enable a machine learning lifecycle. That's the thing I've just shown. You need to be able to scale out to thousands of applications nowadays in an open enterprise platform. You need to have a lot of data, and you need compute. So those are some words which you always see within all the articles about AI on the internet. So this is really from a technology perspective what the AI implementation looks like. And actually, if I press on one more button, here you can see all extra keywords, which is reflecting on what it's like from a technology implementation about AI. So then we're talking about the GPU. An AI algorithm, your fraud prediction model needs to be able to run everywhere, for example. It needs to be secure. Security is a big item. DevOps is all about getting how are you going to develop such an AI algorithm, but also implement it in your end applications. Rapid provisioning and experimentation is important to really look into the newest innovations but also being able to implement it in real life situations. So that's quite a lot. Nowadays, quite some data scientists are focusing constantly on the machine learning code. So really development of the model itself. Which is really important because actually the pattern you're trying to find, that 1% increasement of a fraud prediction model, that is in this little particular part where the machine learning is going to help you. The only thing is, quite some organizations tend to forget that there is so much more within an organization before the machine learning, before you have implemented the AI. So then you have so much more you have to take into account. So this is real deployment. It's not about the ML code. It's about constant data verification. It's about constant machine resource management. You need different analysis tools because you have different people with different mindsets, different knowledge. You need to think about how inferencing is going. So deployment of your fraud prediction model, where are you going to deploy it from serving infrastructure? You need to monitor it constantly. You need to think about the constant feature extraction or the data collection. So there's so much more than only that small pattern perspective. And that is something organizations are really looking into nowadays. Deployment, the deployment perspective, and that's one of the most important things. So biggest challenge right now, past 5 years, everybody was focusing on ML code. This is the first year we're really focusing on industrializing your AI. And if I talk about industrializing, I'm talking about all these different squares you can see in the screen right now. So what's the current state? Data scientists and IT, they are not always living in harmony. Why is that? They are developing the patterns, they are developing the fraud prediction models, and then it needs to be implemented. And then you really have to think about, okay, how does the data look like? How secure does it need to be? The data scientist is not always an IT expert. So an IT expert and a data scientist, they have different competencies. Meaning that they try to get it, they try to get the same result, but their mindset is differently. So you need to have the both languages connected. Size of the teams, that's hard. So it's always hard to get the best data scientists who understand IT, for example, but also understand the business. And most important, nowadays, it's also about ethics. Nowadays, it's more important if you implement your machine learning prediction model to think about explainability of your AI, to think about the interpretation of your AI, but also to think about, is my AI fair against, for example, genders? So how fair is the algorithm? And if I implemented it, is it still fair against different people within my data set, within my specific application of my machine learning? So where to start? So for many enterprises, and like I already mentioned, it is really important to move into the field of AI. AI is already here. Many organizations are trying it. And what we really see is that many organizations are starting to treat AI as a strategic change management initiative. Gartner calls it, since this year, the industrialization or engineering of AI. So it's more important to engineer your AI in the full end-to-end machine learning lifecycle, like I presented a little bit before. This cross-functional team, really important, because you talk about business users, you talk about subject matter experts, we are talking about IT people, we're talking about the data scientists, we are talking about people who need to be able to use the AI results. So think about this cross-functional team. It's not only a data science focus, it is really an organizational challenge you need to develop. Management of expectations. AI is not magic. So it's not like that you're going to develop the most magic results out of AI, but you really can gain a lot of value of the right business approach of implementing AI. Meaning it's okay to develop a model with 1% fraud detection, a better fraud detection. Only 1% if you try to monetize that 1%, that could be a lot of money. And that could be interesting already for an organization. So it's also important to select the right use cases. And most of the time, the most boring use cases are the most valuable use cases. And then you can always see that's always fraud, for example, churn, customer intelligence, like that. And then you always also have the very cool newest AI things like computer vision or the chatbots, etc. But the most value is still within the most important business cases within such an organization. And then it's all about planning and managing your investment in AI. Define success at the start, try to develop milestones in between, and try to understand what the end result is in the end, so you really can focus on, are we doing the right steps? Are we getting success out of it? Or do we need to move to another use case and focus on that one? So it's really organizational challenge and not only a data science challenge, what I want to say over here. When you start, try to challenge the status quo. So challenge that churn model, challenge that fraud prediction model, challenge everything. And then talk about the data-driven culture. Data is actually, it's really cheesy to say, but it's like the oil of your organization. So think about, how does my data look like? Think about data governance, think about definitions of your data, think about what you want to get out of your data, and then move into the prediction AI models. So collaboration is important within an organization, and the capabilities, your organizations is not directly ready for implementation of AI. It's actually incrementally. Small customer example, maybe Saad can help me with this, but this is really from the Gulf region. Like I already mentioned, fraud investigation, important one. Document validation, also important one if you want to really streamline processes. Or maybe I can hand it over to Saad right now.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. In this slide, we'll try to mention some examples of AI applications that have been implemented in the region, in Saudi Arabia specifically. In these examples, we try to, let's say, find some common characteristics. All these three examples are customly developed, so they are not off-the-shelf solutions. They've been developed internally within the organizations themselves or through technical partners. All of these three examples have been implemented in the last 6 months, so they are relatively new. Before I dive into these examples and shed some lights on them, I want to just mention that during the explanation of what these solutions are trying to solve, you will find out that AI is a new way to solve old problems. So it is not something that fundamentally new, or it will solve a new category of a problem that doesn't used to exist before. So the first one is the fraud investigator, which is within the SFDA. They implemented a solution that gives you the probability of a shipment that might be fraudulent. So the investigator will find an assistant tool that will help him reduce his manual effort or manual transaction, and in a way or another, in a direct way, that will help in reducing the operation costs. The second one is the document validation, which was implemented in SPGA. SPGA is a government entity that's responsible for the government real estate and things like that. So what they developed is an AI tool. What does it do? So when you upload attachments or documents in Ihkam platform, this tool will do two simple things. The first thing, it will tell you about the quality of your attachment. Is it blurry? Does it contains anything that might block the text that the auditor will read? And it will give, let's say, a notification to the user telling him that be careful, your attachment might not be processed because it contains some quality issues. And if the attachment doesn't have any quality issues, it will do the second thing in line, which is the model will check for the formal stamps, the formal signatures, some things that can identify whether these attachments are valid or not. And if it is valid, it will go through the process. If it's not, it won't prevent them from going through the process. It's just gonna show a notification to the user telling him that be careful. We found out that 123 is missing. So if you want your application to be processed correctly, please make sure these signatures or stamps are included. So it is an assistant tool. It doesn't take a decision based on the instead of the auditor. It just helps in, let's say, reducing the error margin in that process. The third one is the trade names, which is one of Ministry of Commerce systems. So any new organization or establishment that want to apply to a new trade name, they submit an application choosing a specific name. The AI component here will do a simple thing. It will check the similarity of the syntax and the semantics of the chosen trade names. And it will show a percentage of the similarity to the auditor. And the auditor has let's say, the say to, or the decision to decide whether he will process this name or he will prevent this name from being processed. The common thing between the three solutions, all of them are providing decision support to the stakeholder. They still do not take decisions by themselves. That requires a lot of maturity. It requires some culture change, and it requires, let's say, a stabilization phase, which is still haven't been reached yet. One last thing before I hand it over to Mark. As you saw, AI applications are not always flashy and fancy. They are not always robots or something that solves very complex problems. They might be very, let's say, simple solutions that does things in a different way. So we will go back to Mark now, and then we'll continue later.
Thank you, Saad.
Thank you.
So, and in my next specific slides, I already mentioned it, but it's really important if you start with AI. Most organizations start with the internal AI champion, and that AI internal champion forgets always or sometimes to involve the right stakeholders. So that's something I really want to say. AI is really focusing on a domain-specific business problem, and please introduce the right people within your organization so you really can focus on the development of the AI for that business problem. So think about the subject matter expert who understands the data. Think about the right data scientists, of course. Think about what the IT landscape looks like, and also think about how to deploy and execute and monitor actually the end AI result. What we see by experience is there's always a danger of overhype because AI is that magic. And so there's a lot of excitement. The expectations are high. The champion started, and afterwards it really looks like, hey, we don't get any results out of it. And then people are disappointed about it. Also try to understand that if the expectations are low and you try to be overly cautious, it's an innovation part most of the time for loads of organizations. So it's better to think about really that innovation and how to bring that back in that business situation rather than try to develop the best business process ever. You have to bring innovation, and you have to bring actually that overly cautious business process development together to unlock the real power of AI. Really important, it needs to be achievable. And like I already mentioned, it's not magic, it is your data. There's a pattern in that data. You need to deploy it within this business situation, and people need to use it. As a starter, high value cases are the most important. Please look into churn or fraud detection, for example. It needs to be focused and near term, and the data needs to be there because actually in the end, it all is data. Before some customers are getting carried away by the opportunity of AI. And actually think about, you don't know ahead of time what can happen. So there are things you don't know. So it's really important to first define and to plan your investment based on success. So understand what the measures are based on costs. You have to understand that you need to iterate constantly, that you need different stakeholders within the organization. It needs to be tangible and practical, and there needs to be a purpose. And that is really the level and type of investment. If you really start with a low investment, most of the time you get low results. Higher investment and very good planned get most of the time the better results. So what I talked about really is try to roadmap your core issues and success as much as possible. Try to assess your current capability within the organization. Identification of your business cases and opportunities which are suitable to use AI. Target and develop milestones as much as possible for the AI transformation within your organizations. And if you put that in a detailed roadmap, then I'm sure that you can develop the best success ever. So now the learnings from Saad. So I'll give you some introductions. Saad will tell you a little bit what he learned during implementations in the AI journey.
Thank you, Mark. So in this section, what I'm trying to speak about is basically So I've been involved in a few AI strategies implementations, and instead of going through the process and how we can implement the strategy, we will try to shed some light on the challenges, difficulties, and lesson learned during these implementations, and where exactly the pain point, the bottlenecks are. So it will be, let's say, collection of information. I'll start with the reasons. Why organizations need AI? These are few examples or few reasons why organizations needs AI. But regardless of these reasons, each organization has their own motivation of needing AI. Some of them needs it to solve fundamental problems that they face currently. Some of them needs it to stay in the competition. Some of them needs it to increase the customer satisfaction. So, but the one sure thing that none of them needs it because it is only a fancy technology. So there is always a business need or a business problem that AI can help or solve. So what if without a proper reason or need, should we still need an AI strategy? This is a difficult question because it is we have some clues that within a few years most of the solutions will be AI enabled, and AI will be a critical, let's say, success factors in the future. So we might not need AI strategy as of today. We might not need the strategy to solve today's problem, but we will definitely need it in the near future. So if we haven't started yet, we might face a dilemma within a few years that keeps us out of the competition. So the second point is there is no right and wrong at the moment. There is a balance between what you need and the required resources. You cannot say that because I like AI and I think that in the future AI will be a fundamental success factor, then I have to invest in AI without having a proper resources. So each organization need to find the balance between the two things, what you need and the resources that you have. The last point is without real business problem or opportunities, it will be a very difficult step. So I would say before even starting thinking about having an AI strategy, start to think about linking your business need opportunities to the AI strategy and why do you need AI. If you manage to find that mapping, it will be much easier to find good motive to implement the AI strategy. Okay, in this slide, I'll try to speak about how do we use AI. There is merely two kinds of usage for AI. It's either that we, as an organization, we produce AI. That means we build solutions, we provide solutions to the customers, and that requires certain kind of talent and resources. The other type of usage is AI consumption. That means I'm not building the solutions for the other. I need to use AI within my organization to solve my own problems. And these are two totally different things, require two totally different setups when it comes to talent, technology, and resources. As an organization, to find the real value of AI, you should determine whether you are AI consumer or producer, because if to consume AI, you need totally different setup than the setup that you need to produce the AI. You can be one of them, or definitely you can be both of them. So there is some organization where they use AI internally within their organization, and in the same time they produce AI solutions. So it depends actually on the type of organization you are working on. Consuming AI helps the organization to build and accept the culture of AI. That's very important. For example, let's take a simple example. If we have a solution in the human resources department that helps them to automate certain kind of processes or certain kind of tasks, that's consuming AI. What do we get after we implement such solution? It's not only the technology. What we get that the employees of that function or that department understand how AI can help them. They will think of other solutions or other problems that AI might help to solve, and this will, strategically speaking, within a few years of this kind of implementation, it will help reducing a lot of cost. It will help, let's say, in optimizing the processes across the organization. Producing AI helps the organization penetrate new market segments and opportunities, especially if we are talking about still developing markets like the markets we have in Saudi Arabia. We still don't have so many domestic AI providers. We still rely on some external technology. So there is huge opportunities where AI producing companies can penetrate, and that might really be helpful to the organization direction. And what should we look for when we build the AI strategy? There is so many factors to be taken into consideration. We can segregate these factors on let's say, a matrix. This matrix, let's call it the strategy canvas or AI strategy canvas. We have 4 kind of intersections. We have external factors and internal factors. These factors also can be strategic and they can be operational. All these points need to be taken into consideration, and we need to think about them very deep when we want to build the AI strategy. This presentation will be shared after the webinar, so I would really recommend for anyone who want to implement or build the AI strategy to take into consideration these points. So if we strategically speaking, internally, this is things that need to be done within the organization. What is the urgency of having an AI strategy? Do we need it right now, or it is something that we want to build for the future that will set the rhythm of the implementation and the execution of the strategy? Do we have real urgent needs right now, or are we building it for something that important but not urgent? The goals of the AI strategy. Why do we need to have this AI strategy? Is it because that our competitors is having an AI strategy and we don't want to be left out, or it is because we have substantial problems that we tried to solve for many years and we couldn't using the traditional approaches? The approach of implementing the strategy, whether are we going to make let's say a huge change in the organization in order to adopt the AI strategy, or we're going to do it gradually, what kind of approach we are following. And there is so many different details that can goes into each single point. All these points need to be discussed within the organization in a very detailed manner. The culture of the organization. One organization differs from the other. Some of them are already accepting the new technologies. Some of them might be afraid that artificial intelligence adaptation may take their jobs. So where do we stand when it comes to the culture? Is it something that we have to fight for, or something will be easy going? We're gonna still talk about the strategic part in this matrix, but we will speak about the external factors. So the competition, for example, we are a national company. We know that there is other national companies who starting their, let's say, AI strategies. That means we don't have all the time that we need. We might think of the competition as a threat, something that we need to overcome using our AI strategy. The privacy, geographics, and the legal aspects, all of these kind of things need to be taken into consideration, because as of now, there is a national level AI strategy, and in that strategy, there is some regulations that we need to follow. When it comes to geographics, okay, we are implementing the solution here in the kingdom, but what if we want to, let's say, export it internationally? Would the same concepts and the same implementations work anywhere else, or that's something we need to take into consideration? The privacy, it is very, very critical point, because we have the NCA, we have a lot of other government entities that regulate the privacy of the data that we might use to build our AI models or AI strategy in a way or another. When we speak about the operation, there is 2 internal aspects, the resources and the management. So it is very beautiful to speak strategically about the AI strategy, but when it comes to the operation, how we are going to deal with it, how we're going to operate it, do we have the required data? What kind of data do we have? If we have the data, is it in a good shape, or it requires a lot of effort to transform this data into the shape that we need? And from the data point itself, we might end up in multiple projects or multiple initiatives that helps us acquire the required data. The talent, do we have what it takes to implement the strategy? If yes, that's really great. How we are going to deal with them? Are we going to put them in one team or segregate them across multiple functions? Or how we are going to deal with the talent? The cost, do we have the top management approvals and all the budgets are in line, or we have to really find and build business cases that shows the value of AI? It is totally different approaches. It will determine how we are going to work in our strategy. The time also is related to many things. It is related to the competition. It is related to the urgency and the needs. Do we have all the time that we need, or we have to take the time into consideration? Are we going big bang, or we're going through quick wins and smaller phases? The technology, AI is a huge field. It is one term, but it includes so many segregations within that field. So are we going to focus on computer vision, or we want to focus on natural language processing? Do we want to build something related to the robotics, or are we a manufacturing company where we need to optimize our manufacturing pipelines? All these kind of technologies are related to our goals, to our needs. When it comes to management, what are the threats that we have right here? As we mentioned before, some employees might not be very cooperative when they think that AI might take their jobs, or it might undermine their roles. So is these kind of threats exist, or any other kinds? How we are going to deal with them? What are the main KPIs in the strategy that we need to monitor in order to understand whether we are moving in the right direction or not? Are we progressing in the rhythm that we want or not? What are the key processes that will be involved or will be impacted by the AI strategy? That's something need to be determined from the start, because we don't want at the middle of our execution, we have, if we may say, some internal enemies that don't want the strategy to success, because if the strategy succeeded, it means they are going to fail. So all these kind of things need to be taken into consideration. The last section is the external operations, where do we have external threats that we need to take into consideration, and what's our value proposition in this AI strategy? What do we want to achieve at the end? What is the added value that we are trying to achieve? There is a lot of information in this slide, and it definitely, it's only an overview. This slide can be extended into a whole presentation, but if I may say, it can be a very good core start to any AI strategy. Okay, I want to mention one point here. I do believe it is a very important point, because I see a lot of misconceptions when it comes to AI strategy. I want to start with having a successful AI strategy doesn't mean having a successful AI department. Because if I build a function, as Mark mentioned in earlier slides, it is a cross-functional activity. It is not something that we build and we hire resources in one department and that's it. No, we are trying to do a transformation. We want everyone in the company to understand what their part in the AI strategy, because it is not just a tool that we bought to use. It is something we are adapting to transform. So AI transformation doesn't mean implementing AI solutions. It's not only that, it's change in the mindset. For example, let's take a brief example. The business analyst himself, he's used to do requirement gathering for traditional softwares. When it comes to AI, will he be able to do the same? Or the AI engineer will do that? That's two different kind of things. Now, having a successful function means, okay, within the AI department, the business, they will have their own business analyst. But if we are having a successful AI strategy, it means all related parties need to change their mindset to accommodate the required changes that the AI strategy are proposing. Buying tools and technology does not guarantee success, because it is only a technology. It should be derived by the business. It should be motivated by the business. It is not only a technology. One of the important points that in these times you'll find so many experts telling you what's right and what's wrong, and that's not always accurate. What might fit you might not fit the others. Practices varies between organization A and organization B. What you need is different than what they need. Standards are fragile. AI is still an emerging technology. It still requires a lot of maturity in order to be a stable technology that really have a smaller margin of errors. Innovation is a must. We are speaking about a new domain, a new technology, where the innovation should always be persistent and it always should be there. Decentralization of AI function is harder than centralizing it, but it is crucial to the transformation. We were speaking about the innovation, and in this slide, it has a lot of details. I'll try to brief it a little bit, but what I'm trying to deliver in this slide is that in order to have an innovative AI strategy, you cannot do it alone. It is not a responsibility of one unit within the organization. It has a lot of factors. So let me start with the statement up there. It's when everybody owns innovation, nobody owns innovation. Innovation is everyone's responsibility, but it requires directional guidance, sponsorship, and focus to become a meaningful business asset. There is two parts of the innovation process, the external and the internal. The external part are influenced by two things. It's influenced by the industry and it's influenced by the technology. The industry will provide opportunities and risks. So if the industry is changing into a specific direction, that's either opening opportunities for us or bringing risks that we didn't know about. And the technology itself pushes the process of innovation. Everyone here knows that AI is not a new terminology. It's been there since 1950s or maybe even before that. But it is enabled today. It is something we can use. 10 years ago, we wouldn't use it in the same way we are using it today. So technology, the business context itself of the organization and the industry, all of these factors influences the process of innovation. Within the process of innovation, we will generate the idea, get the awareness within the organization about the innovative ideas that we are proposing, evaluating the idea, implementing them, and then acquiring the expertise that we gained through this process. But this process won't work unless there is something that pulls it. What are the things that pulls this process? It is the business in the organization, the business influence, and the organization influence, and the innovation output. So if we build a very innovative AI model, but no one needs it, then it will stay there. No one will use it, even if it is addressing a very good opportunity and it is within the business context and using state-of-the-art technology. If there is no business influence, the business are not convinced that they need this product, they won't use it. It's as simple as that. So what we are trying to say here, that's why we are saying that AI transformation and AI strategy is not only one function, it is something across the whole organization. Okay, I'll try to go briefly on the remaining slides because I want to keep some time for the questions. So this might be the last slide, and the remaining will go through them in a fast way. So AI strategy impact on non-technical function. We spoke briefly about this, but what do we mean exactly? AI, machine learning development, hasn't reached the same level of maturity of traditional software development. This is an impact on the roles that are associated to these emerging technologies. So if we take a look at the AI engineer today, we know that he does things that he shouldn't been doing, but because the business development team does not understand really how AI can serve their clients. So you'll find out that the AI engineer is trying to build the business cases itself, and the business analyst again is trying to. The AI engineer will try to gather the requirements where it shouldn't be his role, but because it is a new field, we will find a lot of misconceptions around the roles. So the non-technical functions must be included in this transformation. They must understand how AI is impacting their jobs. What do they need to know? There is a lot of awareness should happening within these functions. In the last few slides, we're just going to take an overview of some examples. These are some of the these are actual strategy maps for AI strategies. These are examples of the objectives that an organization X are targeting within their AI strategy. So at the end, they are targeting to generate new revenue streams from AI and data products. How that can be done through so many objectives, and you can take a deeper look at these objectives or goals at the end of the presentation. But goals by themselves are not alone. We have to translate them into something practical. So how we are going to derive initiatives or projects out of these objectives to make sure that we are going to achieve them. And these are a few examples. And here, to be more practical, I put an example of an initiative card, how we are going to define these initiatives and monitor them. They should be time specific and solve a very detailed business problem. They have to be linked to a strategic objective in the AI strategy. And the last slide here is some example of a technology stack. I'm not gonna spend time on it. Mark, do you want to add something here, or I'll brief the first layer only about the first layer. So AI and machine solutions, we can have different technology stacks. It will be determined by the solution that we are trying to build. So if we are targeting to build something in advanced analytics, computer vision, natural language processing, robotic process automation, or any kind of AI fields, it will require different technology stacks. This is only an example. If you want to add something here, Mark, the mic is yours.
Yeah, so as you can see, I've added H2O because I'm a little bit colored by H2O. But it's really important also to see that it's from a technology perspective also full stack, which you need to take in advance. So it's not about the coding part only. Right now you have a lot of frameworks available, but also platforms where you really can develop automated machine learning tasks. Think about machine learning management, model ops, the monitoring part, deployment part on your infrastructure, and then also how are you going to incorporate your business rules. So I think this is a good example of how such an application architecture could look like within an organization and how you can apply that.
Okay, I believe if you want that we have some time for the questions, because we can skip the few last slides.
Yeah, so let's go to the questions indeed.
Great, thank you both. So we do have a few questions, maybe one for Saad. So what if I couldn't identify the business problems that AI can solve?
I would say that if you couldn't identify a real business problem that AI can solve, it is one of two possibilities. It's either you haven't looked in the right places. So if that's the case, try to see the other, let's say, the other companies, what they are trying to solve. Are they trying companies within the same context of yours? So if you are in a manufacturing industry, how AI is helping other industries, other companies within that industry to solve their problems, that will lead you to the right answers. That's the first possibility. The second possibility, which is, I doubt it might be there, but it is a possibility that you don't really need AI at this stage of let's say, or in this phase of your organization. But that, I wouldn't say that might be the case, but it is a possibility.
Okay. And so for a company that would like to start an AI journey, where should they start for executing use cases? Is it with the data or with the problem?
It is definitely with the problem. Data is very important, and it's very critical, and we cannot succeed without data. But think of it the other way around. Even if we have the data, we cannot provide any value unless we have a real business problem that we are trying to solve. So it's always about the business need and the business problem. If we identify the real business need and the business problem, we can start from there. I'm not saying that data is not important. It is fundamental and it is crucial to the success of any AI implementation, but it should not be the starting point. The starting point always is the business need and the business problems.
Great, thanks. Maybe a question for Mark. So how can we solve the issue of data unavailability, and how can we reduce the algorithm bias?
Good one. Two questions. So data availability. There are many techniques regarding that. One of those techniques is you can use statistics to develop data which can be used to get that pattern again. So that is really based on rules and exceptions, which is really statistical. So that's something a data scientist really would have to help you with. There's always also the application perspective. So if you are fully aware about the fact that the data is not always available, then it's also a good start to develop the data you think that is needed. So start with problem statement, and as a next step, start with store your data, start with ask for the data, start with develop good quality schemes on how your data should look like and what you should get from those data points. Second question regarding bias. Right now, there are several stages within the development of your AI algorithm where bias could happen. One of them, of course, is in the data itself already. Yeah? So bias could be already in the data. So that's something you should be really aware of, that bias always starts within the data itself. Second one is, if you're going to start with the development of your machine learning model, then if you do a classification, so are you going to hire somebody or are you not going to hire somebody, and you're going to base it on your historic perspective, then you're going to model your history. And if there is already bias in your history, then you're also going to develop this bias in your model. So take that into account as well. As soon as you have the model, there are quite some techniques nowadays available to calculate bias, calculate the fairness. So how fair is your algorithm to one of the features within your data set? For example, pick gender and look at if your algorithm is biased against male compared to female, and that's really mathematics in the base. You will get a result, and as a next step, I would try to put it back into the data, remodel your model again, and then in the end, you have to hope to get a better non-biased algorithm. So it's quite an advanced task, but important to think about nowadays, or actually in the past as well, but it's good to take it into account.
Great, thank you, Mark. So we received some other questions. We don't have time to answer them now, but feel free to reach out to us if you would like to continue the conversation. We will be happy to. Well, sorry.
If I may, I just want to answer one question, if that's possible, if we can have 2 minutes.
No problem.
Yes, I'm sorry. I would like to answer all the questions, but I'm gonna jump into the last question: how we can turn projects into products. It's very beautiful question and very important question because most of AI, let's say, solution starts from the data scientist or from the AI engineer, which most of the time he's not a business-driven guy. And in order, if you want to turn whatever solution you are building into to productize it and monetize it and make it something that can be sold to other customers, you need to involve the business parties from the beginning. You need to have a product manager who understands the value of AI, and while you are developing the solution, he takes into consideration what kind of business model this solution is going to be based on, whether it's going to be a recommendation system that gonna be embedded within an existing platform, or it is a standalone tool that provides some recommendations based on subscription based. So the product team need to be involved because their decision in making the solution into a product will impact the way of implementing the solution. And that's something need to be considered since the beginning.
Great, thanks. Mark, let's take just 20 seconds to explain very briefly what driverless AI is, please.
Driverless AI. This is our solution to develop machine learning, and it's actually automating big chunks of the development of this machine learning. So it's automated feature engineering, automated modeling, automated deployment, automated machine learning interpretability, and it's all really to for the advanced data scientists to speed up the processes and trying to understand and develop what is in your data and what is available. So there are quite some advanced tasks in it, but it's also possible for the novice data scientists, and it's also available for the business analysts who really want to move into data science. So this is really a solution where you can scale out the development of your machine learning and the deployment of your machine learning end to end. So this is really next phase, next step solution, and it's going to be all about automations the next 5 to 10 years. So please give it a try. I think you will be happy.
Great. Thank you, Saad and Mark, for taking the time today, and thank you to everyone who joined us. We would love to get your feedback on this webinar and the next topics you would like us to cover, so please answer the quick survey that will show up after we close the event. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. Stay tuned for upcoming events and have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.